If I could tell you guys not to skip one video, then it would most definitely be this one. This is a version of my most viral fairy cake, and honestly, I think this is prettier than the original version. This fairy cake has gone viral on all my social media platforms with hundreds of thousands of likes and views, and even till this day, my phone blows up with just this post alone. On this particular week, I had the pleasure of creating two fairy cakes, and they were quite different, so the pressure was definitely on. But let me show you guys the entire process of how I create this beautiful cake. If you guys watched any of my recent videos, you'd know that I'm really trying to get a really smooth base. Even being an experienced baker, there's still so many things that I'd like to improve on. And having a smooth base is definitely one of them, especially with cakes like this, so I hope I did this cake justice. It's also become a signature style of mine to kind of do a swirly base for my fairy cakes. I'm not sure why, because I don't do them for any other cakes but my fairy cakes. It does make the writing a little bit more difficult just because the base is bumpy, but I make it work. So after prepping the cake, I add my fairy door and window on, and guys, after I did this step, honestly, I just looked at the cake for about 10 minutes because it just looked so odd and hideous to me, and the door kind of looked disproportionate to the height of the cake, and there were just so many things going through my mind. I did also have this issue with my first ever fairy cake, so I told myself to trust the process and continue on decorating as I do. I do also love to add odd details on the fairy cake like I'm doing here. I say odd details because I don't continue on this border around the cake, I just honestly put it in places that I think look cute. I think this also makes the cake look a bit more whimsical and a bit more fun as not everything is symmetrical. So for this particular fairy cake, I was requested not to use a lot of fake moss, and she only wanted a tiny bit around the edges, so I had to essentially substitute all the fake moss that I used on my original fairy cake for more buttercream florals and leaves. I was super nervous about this because I didn't know if I could recreate that sort of whimsical enchanted look with just buttercream decorations. It's also really difficult to try and pipe on a wooden door frame because the buttercream just has a really difficult time trying to stick onto the door. And you can actually see me go back to the door quite a few times to try and get the buttercream leaves to stick on. So with the buttercream leaves, I'm essentially just putting them in areas that the fake moss would have gone. I am also feeling super confident about this cake during this point in time because the leaves really bring the cake all together. I did also get to add two different colours of roses onto this cake, and they were pink and red, and guys, one of my previous cakes with pink and red roses went absolutely viral. So to add two viral elements onto one cake, I am just so excited for you guys to see the final result. So firstly, I go in with my lighter shades and essentially just put pink roses everywhere I see fit. And after doing my pink roses, I'll go ahead and do the exact same thing with all of my red roses. This cake was giving Valentine's Day, it was giving fairy, it was giving whimsical and enchanted. Oh my goodness, I just love the whole look of this cake. And in true cakery style, more is more, so I am honestly going crazy with adding all these roses on, and my hand definitely suffered a hand cramp or two, but it was so worth it. And this is only just the beginning. I have so many more decorations to add to this cake, so honestly I was a bit worried about where I'd put everything. I do like to do my roses first just because these kind of set out the whole structure of the cake and where the fairies would go. So then I added on my acrylic fairies and also some pearls. For this particular cake, my client specifically asked for a lot more pearls than I did on my original one, so I decided to go in with some mini pearls and also some larger pearls as well. She did say I could use a tiny bit of moss along the bottom of the cake and also some along the side, so that is exactly what I did here. She was also a bit worried that the moss may move during transportation, so I did kind of glue it down with some buttercream dollops, and then I added some pearls on to kind of hide the little dots. But here is the final cake. It was for a very first birthday party, and me and my client were absolutely obsessed. If you guys stayed for 5 whole minutes, thank you so much, and please leave a fairy emoji down below.